and welcome to Co-ople Mode, a couple's opinion on gaming. I'm Matt.
I'm Rose.
And we're back after Rose's brutal murder of the Stanley Parable. We're on to something new, something different. Oh, you ready for something different? It's been a while.
Yeah.
You're scared now?
I'm nervous about what's next. I mean, it's just hard when I have a bad experience, then I kind of look forward to getting something new, but then I'm also scared of like, oh God, what's going to be next? And especially I'm just enjoying Monster Hunter Rise so much right now.
I know we're going to keep playing that in between. That's just going to happen. I know I generally try to be very careful about what I pick, and I've had a few ideas, but one I kind of have to wait on, and another one I really want to try to sneak in and play more because I want to be ready to answer questions. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because if I can't answer your questions, I feel like that makes it a little more frustrating sometimes.
Say, screw this game.
Yeah. And
I'll stop.
Not even you know what's going on or something like that, you know? So this one I picked because I had been playing Sea of Stars recently, and I really enjoyed that. And that one's really, really fun. So I kind of wanted to pick one of the things that it was inspired by. And you are going to be playing Chrono Trigger. And I know that see, folks, that was the exact reaction I expected to get. But here's the thing, and I'm going to preface everything, is that there's a lot of people in this world that aren't into RPGs or JRPGs, right? This one is one of those that a lot of people have said, I have not liked a single RPG after this or before this, but this one I liked.
Okay.
And that's like
a good.
Yes,
that's a powerful statement to make.
Yes, this game
that helps convince me a little.
This game has been on numerous lists as one of the greatest games of all time. This is one of the big ones. I guess
those are big things to say.
I know, but I wanted to say, like, I have on more than one occasion I have come across people who are like, I hate RPGs. I love Chrono Trigger.
Okay.
So, and I'm like, let's
try it.
It's time to give this a try. So let's talk about it a little. It was originally released March 1995 for the Super Nintendo in Japan, and it came out August nationally that same year. It has since, and this is where stuff gets a little screwy, it has since come out for the PlayStation 1, the Wii Virtual Console, Nintendo DS. Back in 2008 had kind of the definitive version. You can play it on iOS, on Android, on PC. Like, you can, if you have a console from the last 10 years, you can probably find this game in some way. There's numerous ways you can play it. I keep waiting for them to come out with it on the Switch in some way, but it just hasn't happened yet. But that's okay. Interestingly enough, the first version I ever had experience with it was not the Super Nintendo edition. It was the PlayStation version my buddy had. It was in a combo disc pack called Final Fantasy Chronicles, and it had Final Fantasy IV and Chrono Trigger in it. And that was my first experience with Chrono Trigger. And it was funny, after that fact, me and him bought a cartridge for the Super Nintendo to play the Super Nintendo version, and that is the one that the first time I ever beat the game was the Super Nintendo version. Now, when you have a game that has released on this many different consoles over the years, now a lot of this time it was every year it was a different release. It's very hard to get an accurate rating, but essentially, originally, the Super Nintendo release, all the reviews sit between about 92 and 100 for what people rated it back in the day.
Really high.
The DS version, when it came out, has a Metacritic review of 92. That was like the last kind of definitive version that they've used going forward since they've released it. Now, I know I tend to throw the Metacritic review and review numbers out, but I just kind of use that as a baseline because a high review doesn't always mean someone's going to like a game or hate a game, but I think it's a good baseline to base, like, generally people enjoy this.
It gives you an idea of, like, how many people liked it. I mean,
yeah, right.
it can be a great game if a lot of people like it. I think if only a few people give it that high of a score, the average will be so much lower. It kind of gives you a baseline of like overall how good it is. I think it's valuable.
Interestingly enough, the year it came out in Japan, it sold 2 million in 2 months in Japan, and it was the second best-selling game that year, beaten by Dragon Quest VI.
Dragon Quest VI,
Yep, that's the one that beat it. That's the only one that beat this game. Now, this is also where I can't get a good total sales number. All I can say definitively, let me say that word right, it's over 3.5 million for sure. And I don't know if that's just one version, all the version. I can't find the info. I really tried, folks. It's really hard. It's really, really hard. So this game's development team was nicknamed the Dream Team. Now, when this game came out, Square Enix was Squaresoft and another company, Enix. So Squaresoft made Final Fantasy games. Enix made the Dragon Quest games. Okay?
Yeah.
Now...
Wait, Dragon Quest or Dungeon Quest?
Dragon Quest.
Oh my gosh.
Dragon Quest.
Is that the...
That's...
Is that the game I'm thinking of, but I always get the name wrong?
Yes.
Dungeon Quest is Dragon Quest. It is Dragon Quest.
It's Dragon Quest.
Okay.
The one you played on the Switch
is Dragon Quest.
Why
do I want to call it Dungeon Quest?
I don't know why you cannot name it right. You call it like Dragon Ball and Dragon. So, okay, let's talk about this Dream Team. One of them is Hironobu Sakaguchi, who created Final Fantasy series, Yuji Horii, who created Enix's Dragon Quest series, and Akira Toriyama, who you would recognize as the designer of the Dragon Quest characters and the author of the Dragon Ball Magna series. So,
okay.
Yep. So they got all three of these. So Square...
The Dragon Ball guy wrote Dragon...
He designed the characters for Dragon Quest.
That's really cool.
Yep.
I am actually starting to appreciate Dragon Ball.
Yeah, our son is watching the original Dragon Ball anime. We've been watching that all together.
Yes.
And you've been getting pretty hooked sometimes.
Yes, because when I have seen Dragon Ball Z clips before, I'm like, I don't like this anime. This is ridiculous. But now going from the beginning to when Goku was a kid, it has hooked me in, and I actually enjoy watching Dragon Ball now.
Yeah, yep.
I'm excited to see this story unfold.
Right.
I think it also helped that FD Signifier on YouTube had a very good video about how Dragon Ball is very good for young boys and men to watch. And I appreciated his take on that. And that also gave me some insight into how valuable that story actually is and all the good things in it. So power to the author of that.
Yeah.
I like it very much.
Thank you, Akira Toriyama. So yeah, he designed... And you'll recognize that art style, like when you see it. Like it's hard to dismiss it. Like I can see it now, and I'm like, okay, that's exactly his style.
Oh, that's right. You told me that before because Dragon Quest Builders, the character that you play in that, has Goku hair.
Yeah, you said he has Goku hair, and I'm like, yeah, that's because Dragon Quest is designed by Akira Toriyama. Yep,
it's all there.
So yeah, you essentially had this people who made some of the biggest RPGs of all time all work together on this game, right? And I mean, Dragon Ball was huge too, so people are like, oh yeah, that art style, I love that. It's recognizable. There's something fun about it. So when these guys were traveling to the United States to do some research on computer graphics, they all decided they wanted to do something that no one had done before. So they credited it to a concept of a fusion between Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy, and they arranged for Enix to lend Yuji to Squaresoft for the development. So they actually, you can see how Square Enix probably eventually formed when they were like, hey, can you lend us this guy to work on this game? And that's kind of a big deal. Game developers usually don't lend out their star creators, that's not a normal thing that happens very often. They were originally intending to release this on Nintendo's planned Super Famicom disk drive. So if you recall, there was a time where Nintendo was going to move to discs, and they said, no way. And then Sony decided to go ahead and make the Sony PlayStation themselves because they were working together originally. Nintendo scrapped the disc idea. They didn't like it.
But they did go to discs on the GameCube.
Eventually, because disc just had more, you could store more data on it. But they thought, like, when you went to a disc and you play old PlayStation games, there's a lot of loading times that happen.
Sure.
And that slows things down, and they didn't like that. And if you'll notice, Nintendo went back to cartridges because now USB is so much faster than disc.
Well, yeah, but come on, Nintendo. You shot down the idea, and then you also did it later on.
Well,
That's
yeah.
silly. And your mini discs, too.
Well, how much later? They did the 64, then it was the GameCube. So it was a whole generation before they went to using disc.
That makes it worse.
Well, no, but that was after a lot of time had passed, so read-write speeds were a lot faster by the time they went to use it.
I know, but that whole thing, like, I liked my GameCube, but when you think about it in retrospect, tiny little player that tiny little discs go on. Like,
yeah, the small little discs are so funny.
It was... Yeah.
Hey, if there's one thing we know about Nintendo does its own thing, and it's worked for it. So not always, but I mean, it is kind of funny that they were like, hey, we're going to do this disc drive. Nah, I don't think we like it.
Okay.
It's not working all right.
They came out with the Wii after that, and it made the GameCube look great.
Yeah. But then, Sony went ahead. So they ended up kind of making a big competitor for themselves, which is kind of funny how that worked out. But you know, that's life. I'm not gonna judge people. They make decisions when they did it. But it actually worked out for them in their favor for Chrono Trigger, because going to the cartridge meant they could have the seamless transition between walking on your battlefield and getting into combat. Because what would happen is when you're walking on your world map, or walking through a level, you see the enemies on the map. But different to Dragon Quest, you don't go to like a battle map when you run into them. Instead, the battle happens right there on the battle map, on the walk around map. So it immediately switches from exploration to combat. And because they kept with the cartridge, the transition is so fast. When you play on the PlayStation version, there's a few seconds of loading that you have to wait for, which is wild when you think about the fact that battling is a big mechanic in the game, and that happens a lot. And that's a lot of the reason why a lot of people don't think they would rather play their regular Super Nintendo version over the PlayStation version because of that. Even though the PlayStation version had a bunch of cool anime cutscenes you could see.
Sure.
Yeah. So they're like, I mean, if what use is a cutscene if the like day-to-day, hour-to-hour, minute-to-minute gameplay is constantly slowed down by loading times, right? Does that suck?
I don't know. It depends on how long the loading time is. And like you say, a couple seconds, and that doesn't sound bad, but when you're in it, maybe it feels longer.
Yeah.
I don't have the experience to really.
Yeah. Something I found interesting, one of the people that was programming graphics on this game cited Ridley Scott's visual work in the film Alien as an inspiration for the game's lighting. And I actually recognize, like, some of the places you go, I can kind of feel that vibe. Huh. Yeah, it's kind of funny. I was like, you know what? I never really thought about that. But yeah, I can kind of see how they mix that. Also, the name Chrono Trigger. Oh my gosh, there's a bunch of things. So Squaresoft was making Secret of Mana and Final Fantasy IV at the same time. Like, they had a bunch in development, right? So some of those things that were made in those games, they're like, the Chrono Trigger team was like, no, let's use that. I think that's a good idea. We're going to put that in our game. Secret of Mana was made under the code name Chrono Trigger. And so when Secret of Mana got its official name, they really liked the Chrono Trigger name. So Chrono Trigger took it, the team making that. And I think that's kind of interesting. I was like, you know what? That's a good code name. I'm going to take that too. I'm going to take your name. I'm going to take some fun little things your game can do. Like, we're going to mix and match and make our game even better than before. Masato Kato, I probably mispronounced that so bad, and I'm sorry. One of the main story writer of Chrono Trigger said when he was editing and doing the outline and doing all these different events that he wants to happen in the game, he really took pains to avoid as what he described as a long string of errands, such as do this, take this, defeat these monsters, or plant this flag. Now, if you played any MMO game or even any RPG, there's a big trope where, hey, I come into town, I need to talk to the mayor. And the mayor's like, I can't talk to you right now. There's a wolf den attacking us. So you have to go and kill like 10 wolves. And they're like, oh, okay, I'll tell you what to go. Those people you want to talk to are in a cave. You get to the cave and it's like, hey, you can't blow up the cave mouth. We don't have explosives. Go fight these bomb monsters.
Yeah, that whole lead around.
Yeah, like MMORPGs are notorious for that. Yes. And old RPGs did that as well. So he took pains to avoid that kind of errand list to make the game seem longer. And as I tried to remember about Chrono Trigger, I don't remember doing that. It always felt like what I was doing was moving the story forward. Yeah, it's like I need to escape this place, or I need to save this person.
It can really like wear you down.
Yeah,
if it's really heavy.
Well, in a game where you grind to level up, right? If you really want to like get more, or get money, or find an enemy that drops an item you want, why do you need the quest system to also be grindy, right?
Yeah.
Like to force that on you.
Right.
Like if I can make the choice when I want to do it, much better, right? And I thought that was really interesting that like back in the day, he's like, I wanted to avoid that. And there's games after that still do it like hardcore, right?
It feels good to make the choice, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh my God. See, I told you she was going to make a Stanley Parable comment. I told you.
I didn't say anything about Stanley Parable. I just asked a question.
Yeah. So... So when they programmed that battle system, they really wanted to host the combat on the map without that transition, right? And they noticed that extreme difficulty in loading battles, which is part of the reason they switched to cartridge, but also that they switched from a 24 megabit cartridge to a 32 megabit cartridge. So that way they could add more graphics, more music.
Power.
Yeah, essentially more power. I think the difficulty is you go to old Final Fantasies, old Dragon Quest games, the character sprites might move, especially in the Final Fantasy games, but the enemy sprites didn't. They were very static, right?
Okay.
In this game, the enemy sprites have animations too, so they move around. It makes it feel more alive. I mean, think about, Pokemon.
Yep.
And back in the day, they didn't
immediately
move,
what
right?
I was thinking about.
Like my whole body moves forward in a janky motion, and I did a tackle. So they just wanted to make it feel more alive and more interesting.
Yeah, and I don't know. You look at the old games, and people that love Pokemon love the originals, right? But yeah. Gosh, when you play the new ones now, it just seems like a treat watching all the battle animations.
Oh, I know. Remember how big
it was so exciting and
Pokemon
and fun.
Stadium 64 was when you got to see all those Gen 1 monsters moving and doing like special attack animations. And I know a lot of people make fun of the most recent Pokemon in like they don't have unique animations for most of their attacks, and they look weird when they attack. When you can go back to the 64 and like Charizard, when he does a flamethrower, he actually opens his mouth, or when Blastoise does Hydro Pump, he actually shoots it out of his cannons and lowers them. And part of me is like, okay, there's a lot less Pokemon in that game, so it's a little easier to include that. I'm a little mixed on it. Like, I understand why that's hard.
I mean, when you have a game with like 200 Pokemon running around in it, how are you going to do that?
I think there's like cases of like, hey, a monster does a bite attack, and then they still do their like swipe attack animation, and it's like, okay, come on, like we don't need to do that. It feels like they're going a little bit back to like the effects make the attack.
I think we can agree that Pokemon has cheaped out on some of the things that they should not cheap out on lately.
Yeah, we'll move on. We're not talking about Pokemon. I can't help it. So Hironobu likened the development of Chrono Trigger to playing around in Toriyama's universe, his Dragon Ball universe. And he likes that there's a lot of little humorous sequences that happen in the game. You get little funny jokes or silly things happen. And he felt like at the time it was impossible to do those things in Final Fantasy because Final Fantasy had a tendency to take itself a little more seriously. Like Dragon Quest tended to be a little lighthearted. It'll make jokes like monster names, puns, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But Final Fantasy was always like the more serious of the two. So like getting to play this game where you could have like a little bit of fun or like silly things will happen. And like it's just like a nice little touch, right?
Yeah.
You know,
that's the vibe of Dragon Ball very much so. Very serious but very funny.
Yeah, everyone falls over when something silly happens or like that. Just amusing, right? One of the things that they added after playtesting this game was a place called the End of Time. Now, they worried that players might get stuck without having a walkthrough, right? And they said like, hey, we're making the game. We think all these puzzles, all these clues are obvious, but that's because we're making them, right?
Right.
They actually acknowledged that we just know too much. We think we might be being too soft. It's anybody who's DM'd a campaign and tried to put a puzzle in front of their players, it's either too easy or way too hard. Like it's kind of crazy how difficult it can be to do that. Or they
smash it and don't do it anyway.
Yeah, right. So they added this area called the End of Time where you could go and there's a character there that might give you a hint of something to check out or somewhere to go, right? And which was really cool to do. Now, here's a big thing about Chrono Trigger. You travel through time. You go to different eras in this world's history, and it's the same map with slight changes.
That sounds interesting.
Which is really cool because you collect party members from across time, which is kind of fun. You get like a cave woman who's like really super strong, and a lot of the playtesters were like, because you can travel through time and go and experience different things, little side stories when you go back and explore, that they wanted to play the game again, and that is part of the reason they added a New Game Plus feature. So if you beat the game, one of the different ways you can beat it, because there are multiple different endings to this game, you can start over from the beginning with your levels and equipment and go through again and experience something new. They also changed little behaviors that the characters and NPCs you run into. So they might say something different in dialogue or acknowledge something that you might already know. So that way there is just like little new interesting tidbits that you can find. They did also say that bug fixing was particularly hard, especially in the overworld map, because if you fix something in one era's overworld map, it caused problems in another era's overworld map unintentionally. Oh. So it took them a little longer to fix all those things. But I can say over the years, I played it on multiple different consoles, PC, whatever, phone. And I haven't run into any real bugs, so I've been pretty lucky. So I'm not sure exactly where I'm going to make you play this yet. I'm going to talk to you about it afterwards, because there's a few. We have some options, like So I want to see what you would like to do. But I'm excited for you to try this and see what you think, because they do some interesting things with the battle. And as much as I want to talk about it now, we're going to save that for the second half. Okay. Any questions? Anything you want to know?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. You look so worried when I ask you that. All right. We're going to get out of the studio. We're going to figure out where you're going to play this, and we are going to see what you think. We'll see you guys in a little bit. Bye-bye. Hello, and welcome back. We pulled the trigger on this game, and let's see some opinions.
I want to pull the trigger.
Here, seeing in a podcast medium doesn't work very well.
Nope, it sure doesn't.
Oh, man.
But we can listen.
Yes, you can listen. You can absolutely listen. All right, what do you got for me?
Well, so you start off like with a town carnival, and you go visit that. Your crazy friend Luca and her crazy dad have built like a teleport machine.
Who doesn't want one of those?
There's this girl following you around. It's very obvious she's the princess.
Yeah.
You know.
With her big poofy pants.
Yeah. Hey, those are cool. Princess Jasmine style.
Oh, yeah.
Every girl wants to be
Everyone wants poofy pants.
So they look so comfy.
I'll give you that. They look super comfy.
But anyway, so you both stand on either end of the teleporter, and the princess gets teleported to another time, and Chrono's like gonna walk away. He's like, "Oh, that's that." And Luke was like, "You gotta go after her," which is kind of funny.
Wait. Hold on. Did you just try to walk away?
Oh, maybe that's what happened.
Yeah, Chrono was like a real D-bag about it. He just tried to leave. And I'm like, hold on. Did you just try to leave in game? They're like, no, you got to go in there. That's so great.
Maybe that's how it happened.
Funny.
So you get teleported back in time. And like... You gotta find the princess. She's parading around as the queen of the land, even though she's not. Blah blah. Like the story, the cutscenes and stuff. I don't really have a problem with it. I think that was pretty nice. I mean, it was interesting. The cutscenes weren't too long and overdone. Mm-hmm. I actually don't have a complaint about that in this game, which is kind of nice and refreshing. Because sometimes in RPGs, that stuff can just really drag. They can really drag it on. It does feel like anytime you're not in control of the character in some way, those scenes never seem to take too long. It seems like they move those along at a good pace. They do. They don't, sometimes even just the dialogue between characters can just feel so repetitive and redundant, and you're like, oh my gosh, I get it. Let's move on. And I didn't really ever feel that way in this game. So that was kind of nice because RPGs are kind of contentious with me.
Yes.
And there was some nice things about this, especially for it being an older one. I was kind of nervous because I thought, okay, this one's going to be a little rougher.
Yeah, because you played the Dragon Quest not that long ago, and that was a very much newer and more updated version of a format.
That's a good example of, like, to me, the scenes feel so long.
Yeah.
The dialogue is so boring and just excessive.
Yeah.
For no point.
Dragon Quest is the most JRPG you can get.
Yeah. So, like, I was excited about that for this game. It's kind of funny because this game kind of landed in a weird spot for me overall, right? So, like, the scenery and stuff, I gotta say too, for it being an older game, I was like, this looks pretty good, and there's a lot of attention to detail, and like all the characters are very recognizable and different. The environments are all really well laid out and thought out.
Yeah,
I liked that part about it too. Music's fine. I don't love it. I don't hate it. It's fine. I listened to it. I had the sound on.
Good.
Don't even sigh at me.
Except half the time the few times I actually watched you play it, you usually had it turned all the way down.
No, I didn't.
You turned it up afterwards.
No. It wasn't all the way down. It was
on one.
I could hear the high notes.
Yeah.
Like a dog.
Funny.
So what didn't hit well with me, it's wild to say this, what did not hit well with me in this game is the actual game mechanic when you battle.
Okay.
Just this one little thing, like how you actually play. To me, it's very different than others.
Yeah, that's why people like it, because it's different.
And it's funny because it freaks me out. It gives me so much anxiety.
Okay, I just want to interject a little bit right here. And it's funny that when I watched you play it, it did seem like it freaked you out. Like, that's a good way to put it. Like, you kind of panicked a little, which was kind of interesting to see. And I was like, why is she freaking out? And I will say this, the game does not really explain much, because back in the day, what'd you get with a game? The instruction booklet, right?
Yes.
It would explain all this stuff. And after the fact,
there isn't like much of a tutorial at all about anything in this game, really. And I think older games were like that. So that doesn't seem so weird to me. But the way you battle in this game is like your meter builds up and then you can attack or choose to do a combo move with a member of your party. Their attack meter has to also have been built up all the way to do that combo move. And you have so many magic points. Like, it's classic RPG stuff, right? But the thing that I don't like about it is when I first start playing it and I'm battling, I'm getting attacked by the enemies like over and over again while I'm trying to look at the options of what I can do. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, where's the turn order here? And I said that to you. I'm like, what is going on?
Yep.
It's my turn. Why are they just hitting me over and over? And you're like, that's how this game works. You gotta, and like, that's wild to me.
Yeah.
That's wild.
I don't think
you could just sit there and die.
This is active time battle.
When you get in when you get in a battle, like, you gotta fucking move. And so I just start slamming on the A button over and over.
Attack,
because
regular attack.
I can't take the time to think about what I want to do. So how are you supposed to even like strategize or like make the best move possible? You get in a group of like different kinds of enemies, and certain attacks on certain characters might be better. You don't have time to think about that or plan it out or strategize at all. You just gotta hurry up because otherwise you're gonna die. That's a wild way to play an RPG. My example for that is like, when you play chess, you think about what you're going to do. You don't just start slamming chess pieces around. And that's like the whole point of a good RPG to me. I like strategizing. I like the attention to detail. I like learning what works best on certain enemies and what moves to do. You don't get the enjoyment of doing that in this game. So to me, it's like, what's the point? Why am I here?
Oh my goodness.
It is very
okay. I need
it's a bummer.
So this is what I think happened. You in the beginning, it will ask you if you wanted. There's two ways you can play this game. This game uses an active time battle system, which means everybody, your characters and the enemy's characters, have a meter that fills up, and once it's full, you're allowed to attack. Now, the computer's going to know what it's going to do right away. It's going to happen. So if you just sit there and do nothing, you keep getting attacked because you picked active mode. So that means no matter what you do...
Yeah, but I didn't know what active mode was.
I know, and I explained this afterwards. We had you switch it to wait mode, which is the kind I prefer. So when you're picking a combo move or you're rooting around in your items, it pauses everyone's meters.
But only when you're looking in combo moves
and
items.
Yep. So if you need a second to think.
Not when you're trying to think about who you want to attack.
No, when... Okay. See, this is...
Because
you scarred yourself.
No, listen, because this is how I understand it. If you hit attack and then you select which enemy you want to attack, you're still getting attacked during that time.
Yes, during that time.
Yeah.
With a regular
Sometimes
attack.
it takes a second to get to the enemy you want to attack, especially if there's 5 of them.
Yep.
And you're getting hit the whole time.
Yeah.
That's
Okay. So just to be clear, you are frustrated that because of the active time battle, when you do just regular attacks, even when you're picking an enemy, that time's going on so the enemies can just keep attacking you, and it's making you feel rushed.
Yeah. I like to think about my next move. I enjoy that part of an RPG or an RTS. Like that's what I feed off of, like a demon just sucking that up.
You know, I do think it's funny that the wait mode that you can pick doesn't stop when you're trying to pick an enemy, now that I think about it. And I can see how that might be a little frustrated when you do want to take your time and do the best thing.
Especially, it just hit me hard because I'm not used to it. I haven't seen a game like that before.
Yeah, exactly.
Like this game. And it's funny because you said in the first part, people that don't like RPGs love this one sometimes. And I played it and I'm like, this is like RPG on steroids. This is terrible. But I mean, you know, like I said, this is like my main thing that I really hated about this game. Maybe not even really hated. I just don't like this battle system, which is unfortunate because everything else in this game I was pretty okay with.
Yeah.
I mean, I keep getting stuck and not knowing like what to do to move forward in the game, but I think that is more of I didn't play these type of games at this time in my life. I haven't played a lot of these older games, so I don't recognize how they work and what to do. I was making this loop around this one area over and over, and you weren't around, and I'm like, I can't figure out how to get where I need to go. And then immediately you're like, go touch this light on the wall. Doesn't that look suspicious? And I'm like, well, I mean, not really. It looks like part of the scenery, but yeah, okay. Yeah. And like, that's all it was. I just don't even know it's not that I didn't see it. It's just something that I don't know I can interact with.
Yeah.
But the cool part about this game is when you can't interact with something, Chrono will shake his head when you walk up to it and try to press A. Yeah. He's like, no, I can't do anything here, which is like good because you know what you can and can't do.
Yeah, the game's telling
But for me, trying to interact with everything, I see a lot of head shaking, and I'm like, if you shake your head at me one more time.
I think, you know what? I think it is just... I've played all the Final Fantasies. I played so many Dragon Quests. I mean, even Pokemon has some of this stuff where I'm so used to going to every trash can, barrel, pot, suspicious poster, pressing A to see if something happens.
Yeah.
Because it isn't like as much nowadays where you play a new game and you walk up to something and then the little A will come up or X or whatever you press to interact with stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Which is nice. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate that games let me know I can touch stuff. But I think just so many years of like, no, there is no indication you can interact with this. And if you can or not, I don't know. Maybe you'll find a potion.
Yeah, for the time period this game came out, it's nice that they added that. It's a nice feature. I think the environment of this game is so different than like Pokemon and everything that I don't know what to interact with and what not to. So it was slow going for me. Mm-hmm. But part of that is because I'm not willing to sink 1 million hours into this. I'm not a kid. I got a job. I got things to do. And I don't love the game enough to want to sink the hours in either. Like, it just didn't hit me. It did not hit me right. It didn't
quite hook you.
But I'm happy that even though it didn't hit me, I didn't find it absolutely atrocious. Because usually RPGs are either very extreme, one or the other.
Yeah.
This one landed just kind of nicely in the middle where it was like, this is not the worst thing I've had to play, but I don't really care about it. I feel very indifferent towards this game.
This is an okay game.
But I never want to touch it again.
Yeah, I don't need to play it, but I'm okay that it's okay that I played it.
It's like, it's kind of nice to see and all. This is cool.
Interesting.
Another thing that I did want to say that was good about it was the equipment system. It was easy to see who can equip what. I liked that.
Yeah, they're very clear about that.
Sometimes in RPGs that can get tricky.
It really can.
Like, oh, you got this weapon, but you have no idea who's supposed to be using it, and you know what I mean?
Yep,
this one, it's very clear cut.
Yep.
This is for this character that you have.
Yeah, Chrono gets all the katana type swords. Frog gets all the long sword type swords.
Luca's got a gun.
She's got guns. Yeah. It's very clear. I think armor is a little more interchangeable.
Yeah, but it shows you who can interchange it. I like that.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. I do appreciate that. And it does, you get so used to new games where it's like, okay, like even Monster Hunter, you got a helmet, chest, arms, legs, waist. And that is that's part of the main upgrading for that system. So that's why it works so well. But when you get an RPG where you have all those slots and you're trying to keep up with a whole party's worth of people's stuff and what they can equip, it can feel overwhelming. Here it's like, here's a weapon, here's an armor and a couple accessories or whatever.
You get an accessory and usually a helmet.
Yeah, and a helmet. Yeah.
So it's 4 things. Yeah. And it just makes it, it does simplify it. But
very streamlined.
Also, you feel like you can actually do something about making yourself a little beefier, a little tougher.
It's fun. One of the characters you get, the cave woman eventually.
Yeah.
She just has it's like bronze fist. You can't equip a weapon on her. It's just as she play the game with her and she levels up, her weapon gets an upgrade. Like her hands get tougher. So you don't ever have to worry about equipping a weapon. She's just so tough that her hands get so much tougher punching everything that she gets ridiculously strong.
Yeah, I mean, the party characters are interesting. I mean, Luca showed up. I got her. And like we said, she's got a gun. She's very tech driven.
Yep.
And then I did get Frogman.
Frog. I love Frog.
Yes, I named him Frogman.
Frogman. We also got to talk about what you named Chrono.
BadBoi.
Yeah, BadBoi with an I at the end instead of a Y. So I wasn't using the few times I did watch. I was going to be BadBoi leveled up. BadBoi got 2 tech points. It's like, okay, I appreciate that.
You got to make it fun, you know?
It's like whenever you played Pokemon and you always named Blue something like Butthead, and then it's like Butthead wants to battle. Grandpa, I can't remember what's my grandson's name. Oh, it's Butthead. Oh yeah, that's right. Grandpa, why would you name me that? Why would you call me that? Oh goodness, that's so good. What did you think about like enemy designs and stuff like that?
I really don't like those round dillos. I tell you that. Those guys are...
yeah, they're like round balls or whatever. Yeah,
just slamming in you. Oh, man.
What's funny is like you get the little goblins that are on top of them.
Yeah.
Way easy. You get them on their own and they're like, nuh-uh.
I know. It's like... I mean, I ran into them and I did not expect that to be a problem. You know what I mean? It's very...
It's a cute slime.
It's very unassuming. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, even in Dragon Quest, it's like... You get the little onions, the little slimes, and you're like, no big deal, right?
Yep.
But this one, you get this big slimy ball, and it just wrecks you. It's like, what the heck?
Yep, I came here to kick ass and take names.
I don't know. The enemies, they were okay. The underlings kind of look like yellow-skinned turtles. They're kind of weird.
Yeah.
And then you get the snake ladies, and for some reason, fire is super effective on them, even though they look like fire would be the last thing you would want to pick. So I don't know. It was very odd. And I think it's like I've been saying, I've never played this game and I haven't like watched anybody play it. So it's like trying to learn about this whole world and it just is so nonsensical to me to what I know and used to.
Yeah.
You know?
I get that. That makes sense.
And mostly, most of the enemies I saw were pretty easy ones, but they were okay. I mean, I didn't think any of them were super cool or exciting, I guess.
That's fine.
They're pretty middle ground.
Was there anything else you really wanted to talk about specifically? Because I have something I wanted to mention that I didn't mention earlier on.
You know, I think the only other thing I can say is playing this game gave me one main feeling. Mm-hmm. It just made me want to play Child of Light.
That's like your favorite RPG of all time.
This one, there's something about it that like, I think it's because the mechanics are so wild to me in the battle system and it was unfulfilling. And so I'm like, oh man, if I was playing Child of Light right now, it would feel so good. Because
it is a good battle system.
In a turn order, and that's nice.
That you can see clearly. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's timing in there, but like you could see it and you do it. You know what's wild about this one too is there's cool animations when you're in battle.
Oh yeah.
But you can't even pay attention to them because you're so wildly trying to get ahead of your enemies by attacking them.
You know what I just remembered? Didn't you turn up the battle speed?
Yeah. Because it's so slow.
So that might be why you were feeling so rushed and pressured, because the enemies get turned up too. That's why they were attacking you so fast.
So they can attack more often?
Yeah. Because they're when you turn up the battle speed.
So to me, I thought that made like...
The animations faster?
Yeah, and like just the pace of it faster, but not more attacks.
No, more attacks. Oh my gosh,
because
that's what it was.
Pokemon, when you turn up the speed, or like you know what I mean? Like you can't turn up the speed, but you can. That was a cheat that we had, right? For the old Pokemon games that we used to play on your laptop years ago.
Oh, yeah. You
could turn up the battle speed, the dialogue speed, just to blast through grinding.
Yep. So
that's basically what I thought turning up the battle speed would do for me here.
No, you made the attack meters fill up faster. So yours filled up faster, but so did the enemies. And I just realized that's why it was feeling so frustrating, because you weren't getting the amount of time you normally would to pick your enemy. Oh no. Mistakes were made. That
makes a lot of sense.
Oh my gosh.
You just realized that, huh?
I don't know why I didn't realize that sooner.
when you showed me how to do it.
I was like, yeah, it'll make the battles go faster. But I didn't think about, like, because time doesn't stop when you pick enemies to go, that,
I don't know if I believe you. I think you did this on purpose.
No, I wouldn't do that on purpose. I was just thinking, like, in Dragon Quest, you could turn up the battle speed so it would go through faster and the animations would play. And that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, me too.
But it actually, in active time battle, it means everybody's meter's filling up faster and computers are filling up faster and they pick right away. There's no wait. And I just, oh my goodness, I can't believe I did.
So basically, I have no idea how to play this game.
I made you play this game on a harder difficulty when you weren't ready for it. That's what I did. You weren't, like, if I was doing it, I have enough experience, like, I could pick quick enough. Like I just remember things, right? I have muscle memory. You're playing this game for a first time and then you're feeling rushed. No wonder you're feeling rushed. Oh man. I feel bad. I feel bad about that now. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. So maybe we skewed this experience a little bit, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe a year from now we'll make you try it.
No. No, I think I'm good.
I won't do that to you.
I'm good.
I'm just picking on you. I do want to shout out the technique and combo system, which is what a lot of people remember about this game. And I think I was bringing up, I've been playing Sea of Stars, and it has some hints of this in that, and that's why I kind of thought of having you try Chrono Trigger. For your techniques, which is basically your special attacks, your MP attacks, as you learn them, as you level up and fight enemies, eventually you get two techniques between two different characters that can work together. So for the earliest example you get is Chrono gets a move called Cyclone, which he just like spins his sword around and he attacks enemies in a circle.
Yes.
Well, Luca, one of the first moves she gets is called Flamethrower, which just, hits an enemy with flame. But you can combine those two and get a Flame Cyclone. So she like flames up Chrono Trigger's sword and he spins around and makes a nice little fire cyclone and hits a bunch of fire damage, which
on multiple enemies.
Yeah, which does really a ton of damage. Yeah. I know one of Chrono's like attacks and Frog, they do like an X cross / attack eventually.
That combo I did not appreciate very much. It just hits one enemy and it's not that much damage compared to what Chrono can, like when Chrono
When Chrono
crits, it does more usually. But maybe I need to get Frogman leveled up more or something.
Yeah, I think I can't remember. I know I used it quite a bit as a good, strong, basic attack. But like if they're already weak to like elemental stuff, I feel like
it's kind of a waste of MP.
Yeah, it all depends. And eventually you get ones where you can combine 3 people's attacks into stuff, which is pretty cool. Eventually you learn like magic skills, so you'll get like this flaming ice, water, death, like tornado blizzard going on that just like wrecks everything on screen. It's just satisfying to discover new ones of those. For me, that was one of my favorite parts of the game, is like, what new combo can I get? Like, I gotta level up someone else.
That's a cool part about this.
Yep.
I feel kind of like an asshat feeling the way I do about it, because to me I'm like, these battles are kind of boring, and this is a girl that had I know that is so hypocritical because of me. All the time I've put into Pokemon.
Yeah, which some people say is such a simple system.
Yeah, like for me to say that is just...
But cute monsters, like...
Cute Pokemon.
I think sometimes RPGs are about what the setting is to make you interested in playing it.
Yeah.
Pokemon is a... Excuse me, I'm sorry. Pokemon is a hugely popular game for a reason. It's fun to collect different monsters, see what moves they do. Like, you can interchange your party so often and keep your favorites. Some people like that high fantasy setting, like me. Like, I just really always enjoy a fantasy setting. It works for me. Some people like futuristic ones. They want laser swords and blasters, like Star Wars. It just depends on what the setting is to get you hooked in it. I mean, there's robot one. There's all kinds of RPGs. Like, one of my favorites, I talked about it on TikTok, is MS Saga, which is basically a Gundam RPG. Mm-hmm. Love it. It's so good. And I can honestly say that, like, after a while, the combat can like grind on you a little bit when you get to a certain point in the game, but like they're usually keeping you up with new weapons, new mobile suits, new abilities enough that you're always excited to try out something new, even if it isn't like your use every battle type of thing. So because I like Gundam and robots, that one kept me playing it the whole time because the setting worked for me. So I think you just got to figure out what setting works for you. I guess monsters. You like monsters.
Yeah.
I want to collect stuff.
Yeah. I don't know. There's a feeling of accomplishment there when you're collecting and searching for like, ooh, am I going to get it? You know what I realized? I was thinking about Pokemon the other day.
Yeah.
And I'm not a gambler. Like I get no satisfaction out of like gambling with money.
Yep.
But Pokemon is sort of gambling because you will spend so much time walking through a field of grass, getting that one hit of a Pokemon that you want. And I realized like that is my form of gambling. Like that is my, I'm going to hit it this time. Baby. I'm going to win big. and I think that's kind of odd, especially because, we aren't, when it comes to money, we're like, meh, there's no really big thrill out of this.
Yeah,
right?
no.
But man, I will sink some hours.
Yeah, I know this cool Pokemon's in here. I want it. I mean, how many people have you seen clips of like working for shinies for stuff, or like the right, or even worse, they want a shiny that has the right nature, and it's like, and people will put so much time into that, and it's random. It's all percentage based.
Worked really hard to catch that Togepi in RCS.
Now, this is just a thought I'm having, and I don't know if I'm going to make you do it, but I wonder, there is a Dragon Quest monster series where you collect the monsters.
You did mention that.
Yeah, the most recent ones were Dragon Quest Monsters Joker, which was pretty good. I played quite a bit of it. It's the same thing. It's fun to find a new monster and try to get it, and then add it to your party and see how like it works. Does it build your party better? I think the interesting thing about that is you actually get, I think, like 3 monsters per battle that you can fight with. It's not just one at a time.
Okay.
So so that's kind of interesting, which actually just came about because that was a mechanic that happened in the mainline games. You could collect monsters and have monster fights or in monster fight arenas and stuff like that, which I thought was kind of cool little side thing they would do. But all right, I'm getting distracted. Any last thoughts? Any last things? Anything that That
was pretty much it for me. I mean,
what kind of rating do you give this game?
I think it deserves a 5 out of 10. I mean, like I said, there's things that are good about it, and I didn't hate it, and it wasn't like totally unenjoyable, but it wasn't at the same time. There wasn't much I did actively enjoy either. I came out of this feeling pretty neutral about it. Yeah. Like, I could totally see some people loving it. I just am kind of meh towards it. Yeah. So, with final rating, meh.
With your history of RPGs, meh is probably
that's a good rating.
That's a good rating for an RPG-ass RPG. So
yeah. So I mean, it was fun to check it out and see what it's like. I don't know. It didn't hit that sweet spot.
It's funny watching you.
Didn't make my brain light up.
Yeah, it's funny watching you try all these things and seeing what gets you and what doesn't get you sometimes.
I know.
Because, like, sometimes I have a real good feeling and I'm right, and sometimes I'm like, this is 50-50. It could go either way, and I have no idea what's going to happen.
What do you think was going to happen with this one? Did you expect me to hate it?
I thought this one was 50-50 because of the different battle system. I thought you might enjoy it more, and we end up inadvertently making you feel rushed and anxious
put me
about
in hard
it.
Mode on accident.
And that was my
No wonder
bad.
I didn't like it.
Oh my goodness.
No wonder it gave me anxiety.
Add 2 mistake points from Matt for other people.
It could have been a 7 out of 10. It could have been
a 7. It was my fault. All right, what else have you been playing? What else have you been enjoying? I know the answer to this, but the folks at home don't.
Northgard.
It's been a Northgard. She totally jumped ship from Monster Hunter for a while. It's been all Northgard, the Viking RTS.
Our son kind of had something to do with that. He fired that up, and then you see it, and you're like, ooh,
I like this.
That sounds pretty good and tasty right now. And then, once you get in it, then you just get in it. You're caught in it.
Yeah.
It's hard to get out of the hole.
Yeah, I can understand that. For people who have tuned in later in our podcast in the beginning, Northgard is one of the OG, like, 5 games Rose would play.
That's not true. There was more than 5.
Okay, there might be like 6. So,
No.
but it was one of the original ones that you really liked before.
I really love this game.
Yeah.
I found out from Matt that RTSs are definitely a hook for me.
Yeah, which is interesting. It's so
even though I always lose in Northgard anymore, like I used to win at it, but they update this game so
it's tough
much
sometimes.
I love it though. I mean, it's good. It frustrates me a little bit because they have, since I played the last time, they've changed things in certain clans.
Yep.
And that can really affect how you play, especially when you don't know how to do what you used to do.
Clan you were playing.
Yeah. They changed that around a lot. But at the same time, like they're always adding more content, more clans, more map styles. And I love that they're keeping up with it because it does keep it so fresh, even though that game would be hard for me to get tired of it anyway. But the fact that they're putting so much into it just makes it even better. I really appreciate how much they're giving to this game all the time.
And I think when they do add a new clan, it's never really super expensive.
No,
either.
That's what I was trying to remember.
It's like a few bucks. Or, usually when they get like a handful of them, they'll sell them as a group for like cheaper. Yeah, a little bundle. And I mean, I played quite a few of them, and I've always enjoyed it. I always end up falling back to Bear and Dragon Clan, which I've really enjoyed those two myself.
Yes, that Dragon Clan really smashes.
Yeah, it's a pretty strong one for sure.
The best part though, trying out all the different clans. It's like Heroes of Might and Magic 5. Trying to play as all the different characters you can is just so fun for me. Trying to figure out how to win with different skills, because they are all very different. I love that game. Yeah. So this last weekend I kind of fell into a Northgard hole that I couldn't really climb out of. I just had to get it out of my system. And I have been thinking about Monster Hunter. There's just not enough time in the day.
No, unfortunately. I think I was just playing Northgard with you, and
it's so fun to play with people.
Played some more Lies of P, and I got to a point where every weapon in Lies of P is the bladed or the end part and the handle part. So the handle determines how your attack goes, and the blade determines like what kind of damage it is. So you can mix and match all these things.
That's pretty cool.
And like the blade and the handle each have like a special move that you can use depending on what it comes with, like a special attack or like a buff or something. So it was kind of cool. I've been experimenting and figuring out what I like. I got this like lightning mace, which is like super effective against all these puppets, and it's like I tried mixing it with other things, but honestly it's just good the way it is. I'm like, I'm keeping this one normal. And then I took my big blade sword and put it on a different handle that I like the attacks better. I don't know why the beginning it's like, oh yeah, I got this big great sword, poke for my regular attacks. No, I want to do a big sweeping slice. I want to hit everything. But so that's been going pretty good. I finally like beat like the first big boss, which I did the first try, and I think that's just Dark Souls coming through. It's like something's gonna happen, and I back up. Big electric field goes around him. I'm like, yep, I knew it. I felt it. I felt it in my bones. But all right, that's all I had to talk about. I'm ready. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. I want to thank you, our listeners. And in fact, I want to give a shout out to JFarm93 for leaving a comment and a couple suggestions, which I am taking very closely to heart. And I want to thank Brother Ray for our caricatures.
Thank you.
They're my favorite, and I love them all the time. I'm Matt.
And I'm Rose.
And this has been Co-ople Mode. You keep gaming with your bestie. Ta-ta!